So, my coworker was making my life absolute nightmare until I figure out what she actually wanted. Stick around to the end because you're not going to believe when my wife gets involved. I know it's not a must to be friends with people you work with, but there should be some sort of respect and cooperation, right? That's not always the case, and every once in a while, you come along a coworker you just can't click with. That was what happened to me and Eva, who transferred to our branch a year and a half ago. Eva was apparently one of the best in the company and could probably rival me from what most people said. It was a workplace joke when she arrived that she was going to be my rival, but I was not worried. I'm a 30-year-old male and focused on my work and left the workplace feuding with others. But when I finally did meet her, there was something off about her. I'm usually very blind to people's moods and how they feel about me, but when I met her, she seemed bored. But when I heard the other coworkers speaking about her, they said she was a nice person, just very quiet. So there, I was thinking it was all in my head, because there was no reason for this woman to have a grudge against me. But gradually, her little disliking of me became evident, until one day, no one could deny that we did not like each other. As we worked in the same marketing department, we had to work together at all times and correspond. There were times she took longer than needed to reply to work emails, when I would clearly hear her walking up and down the office doing idle tasks. Now, I did not want to be that person, because yeah, I know that not everyone checks their emails every minute like I do. But when she did it 3 times in a row, I started to think she was intentionally ignoring me. I asked my work friend Justin to email her the same thing as me about a project. When he did, she instantly responded. But when it came to my email, the response came hours later with some excuse that she did not see it. Now, I do not want to be that person, but I think she was stealing my food in the fridge. I like to bring some homemade snacks for when hunger strikes, and I kept some of them in the fridge with my name written on it. But more than once, I would find them gone. At work, we respected each other's boundaries and did not take something that did not belong to us without asking first, so she was the number one suspect. So when I asked her about it, she got this big ol' attitude and said she would never take my tasteless snacks, as if she was below me. And do not even get me started on how she was against me when we were creating marketing campaigns. For every idea that I had, she had a suggestion or a problem with it. She would proceed to undermine any suggestion I had and try to convince everyone that she was an expert. We've been in the field for relatively the same time, but she acted like she's been working there for 20 years. Her credentials from her last job made sure that she never shut up about being an employee of the year and how she made them so successful. So, even though we had to work together, we were constantly butting heads. I just hated the sight of her and hearing her voice. She thought she was better than everyone else, which was something we did not really do at our workplace. We understood that everyone had an important part to play. Things got worse on the day that the boss told us, both in confidence, that there was a promotion up for grabs and that both of us were in consideration. The pressure just got worse from that day on, because we were constantly trying to best each other. I became a workaholic, barely having time for my wife and spending extra hours in the office. I noticed with satisfaction that she did not even stay a minute longer than she was required, which made me believe that the promotion was in the bag. My wife, on the other end, tried to come up with solutions for me to get along with Eva. I had no idea why she even wanted me to be friends with Eva when she was such a conniving person. She would bake me brownies and tell me to offer them a peace offering, but why would I offer brownies to her? This brings me to my wife, Linda, who's 28, who I have a son, Peter, with, who's 2 years old. We had a good marriage, not perfect, but just taking it a day at a time. We were very close to her parents, who were the family that we had physically close to us. Peter stayed with his grandma when we had date nights. Her parents invited us for dinner on most weekend nights, which was always the highlight of the week. I did not feel like a son-in-law to them, but a son since the first day I met them. I am mentioning this because, well, they have a big role to play in all this. So, it happened that one weekend my wife had to go away. She told me a friend's birthday party out of town that she was thinking of missing. She had also been tired lately from going back to work and having to care for Peter alone, since I now lived at work. I felt guilty, feeling that she deserved a break and I should take over for a while. Peter was both of our responsibility and she was doing two-person job. So I convinced her to just have a weekend off and forget about it. The wonders of reverse psychology. I had no idea I had just been played at the moment, thinking it was all my idea when it was not. Also, I had a good day at work because Eva was not there. She had come down with some kind of flu bug and would not be at work for a few days. Working without her felt like a safer environment, and I wish she would stay home much longer. I don't know, it seemed perfect. I would go to dinner with Peter, get him to sleep when we came back home, and then just have some alone time. The next morning, I would drop him to his grandmother's to go work and try to come back early. And I mean, I loved my wife, and all but alone time is needed. She let me know that it was going to be a festival, so she would not need to be on the phone all the time if I needed anything. After which she proceeded to give me 50,000 instructions on how to take care of Peter. She left on Friday morning because the party was the next day but in a different state. I went to work and had an amazing day without Eva, who was going to be out of commission for a few more days. But even when she was not there, she found a way to mess up my life because now I had double the work to do. I did not mind though, because she was not in my ear yapping like she usually did, and I could actually get some stuff done by the end of the day. I got off work a bit earlier and took Peter from daycare, got him ready for dinner with the in-laws. It was a normal dinner as usual, while Peter entertained us with his little stories. Well, they were supposed to be stories, but he's still learning to speak English, so most of it was just rubbish. I winded up staying for much longer than usual because we got to looking through my wife's baby pictures. She had fought us every time we brought them out in the past, but now she's not here. We had free reign. It was fun in the beginning with Peter offering random comments, while her parents told me the stories of my wife in her youth, which I was going to use as ammo to tease her when I got the chance. It was as if we were looking through one of her high school yearbooks that I made an interesting discovery. I kept on seeing her with this girl in some of the pictures, which made me think of a girl that I knew. I was puzzled to how I would know someone she went to school with, and I racked my brain to figure out who the heck it was. I checked several times, and it was a girl named Georgia E., but her surname was strange and difficult to pronounce. It was in the picture where Linda had her head on Georgia's shoulder that I finally knew who it was because of the angle of her face. Georgia's E must have stood for Eva. No words can ever describe the horror and shock I felt when I saw that she had been best friends with my wife. I was even shocked that she was also 28 like my wife because she acted way older. At first, I thought it was a funny situation, utterly random, but then I remembered something. My wife had seen her, but she never said anything to me. Now, some might say that she did not want to upset me, but I don't think I would have been upset. I mean, it was not like they were friends as far as I knew. They barely acknowledged each other when I introduced them at work. It was a work function that year. No, there was more at play here, and I was going to get to the bottom of it. Luckily, I was not so far from the people who had all the answers. But when I started to ask about Eva, the mood shifted. I caught them giving each other a panicked look, and then saying it was just an old school friend of hers she did not talk to anymore. I asked, well, why did they not talk anymore, since she was in town and they had already seen each other? My mother-in-law panicked, asking me if they were friends again or if I let Eva come to our house. This reaction to a few simple questions definitely intrigued me because there was something to be seen juicy here. Maybe that something would help me deal with her at work. Who knew? Little did I know, it's about to hit the fan. They dodged my questions because now I was starting to have many thoughts. I was starting to think that Eva hated me because I was married to Linda. Maybe they did something to each other in their youth which they never resolved. Was that why Sarah was so determined to make me get along with Eva? Because she was guilty? Her parents were no help at all when I tried to pry further. My father-in-law ended up asking me to politely leave because Linda's mom was getting worked up and nervous. Before leaving, her dad told me to be careful, that I might find something I don't want. I didn't listen to him because I was burnt with curiosity and anger at Eva for being mad at me over something that happened with my wife. That was the only explanation I had, because her grudge against me was personal to another level. My wife was not answering her calls as usual, so I stopped calling her. Instead, I decided to do something I never in a million years thought I would do. I took my son, and we went to Eva's house. I had her address because of the workplace directory, but I never planned to go to her house, no matter what. But either way, I just wanted to clear things up and ask what was up with her and my wife, because, well, it was bugging me. I thought it was going to be something stupid that my wife never apologizes for. I know that woman does not apologize for anything, no matter how sorry she is. But when I knocked on the door, a younger woman who looked like Eva answered the door. When I asked her where Eva was, she told me that she was out of town. She refused to give me more information until I had to lie that I was a friend and we had plans for that day, but she never got back to me. Her sister was skeptical but did reveal that Eva was at a festival out of town with her girlfriend. Well, it was news to me that she was lesbian, but that did not matter at the moment. I just needed to find out as much as possible. As I was about to leave, I thought of something else. I showed her a picture of my wife and asked her if she remembered her from when they were growing up. She immediately got a sour expression on her face, like she's eaten a lemon upon setting eyes on my wife. She said, "Of course." Yeah, she knew that woman. She was Eva's ex-girlfriend, but now they're back together. She was the girlfriend that she was with at the festival, which was the same festival my wife said she was at. You know that feeling when you suddenly get hot for no reason at all? Well, that's how I felt for the next few minutes as I tried to process it. I did not believe her at first, so I asked her to call Eva. After calling her several times, she finally picked up and was put on loudspeaker. Her sister said a friend was looking for her. As Eva was telling her to stop interrupting her, I heard the sickening sound of what sounded like a kiss. And then my wife's voice, she said, "Come back to bed, babe." She whispered, but she might as well have shouted it on the loudspeaker. To say I was heartbroken would be an understatement. Her words tore my soul apart along with everything that we've been through. I hung up the phone, left the house, and took my son. No matter how many times I thought about it, it just made no sense. My wife, my coworker, betraying me while I was at home like a fool. What had I done to deserve to be fooled like this? Everything has just been one big joke, and I was the butt of it. Her parents knew, and there was no denying it. They might not have known about the current affair, but they knew they dated in the past. That was why they were scared, because their daughter's secret was about to be revealed. I sent them a long message letting them know exactly what happened and that they should be prepared to take their daughter in when she comes back from the trip, because I did not want to see her. I'd already canceled the credit card she's using for the weekend, as it was the one I gave her. I dug a little deeper into her statements on the card and found that it's all been in front of me this whole time. She had not only been cheating on me, but visiting motels and eating out with Eva. The bills just did not make sense, as she did not normally spend so much. This was a huge mess up for her, and she forgot that the card was in my name. I hoped that her girlfriend could cover the bills for the weekend, because I sure wasn't. I changed all the locks in the house after that, sent her clothes to her parents' house, and told the people at school not to let my wife take Peter from the school. And then I went to work and told them that Eva had been lying about being sick, and she was actually at a festival out of town. Oh yeah, and she's also having an affair with my wife. I did not even want to think about what I would do if I saw her. I did not think it was possible to hate her even more, but she really proved me wrong. She had a wonderful surprise waiting for her on Monday, except she never showed. How could she when everyone knew that she was a homewrecker and hated her? The cherry on top was that I was awarded the promotion, and she never set foot at work again after resigning without even serving a notice. When Linda got back, she tried to contact me, and her parents even tried to reason with me. But see, the thing is, I want nothing to do with liars. There is not one person in this household that I don't want my child anywhere near. She abandoned her son on a weekend out with her girlfriend, and what kind of mother does that? I've told her several times now that I will only speak to her if she signs the divorce papers. I want no explanations from her. I heard and saw what I needed to see already. Well, she refuses to sign until she speaks to me, but I cannot even stomach seeing her face. I'll see her in court, and best believe I'll be fighting for full custody of my son. I'm done being treated like a fool. I cannot believe OP had to endure this type of toxicness. Literally, this threat comes into his work. He's already weary of the threat because they're looking for a promotion, and lo and behold, it's his wife's affair partner. This story was crazy, but I want to hear your opinion on it. So drop it in the comment section down below, guys. The next story we're going to look at is an Am I the A-hole story? But first, make sure you hit that subscribe button right below this video. The reason you want to do that is because sometimes these videos do come with updates later on. So if there's a story that you've seen, there might be an update for it later. Hit that subscribe button. Here comes the next story. Shortly after my 5th birthday, my dad found out that I was not biologically his. He immediately threw me and my mother out of his life, which now looking back, I can't really blame him. It would be a nightmare to raise someone who was a constant reminder of your wife's cheating. Shortly after that, we moved from a mansion to a very small apartment, and my life has been absolutely lonely and horrible since then. The love that mother had for me disappeared in an instant, and she and my half-siblings constantly blame me for being the reason for the divorce, and have hated me since. I was constantly told by my own family, including my mother, that they all wish that I would die and would never be born, stuff like that. I try to not get my half-siblings' words to get to me, since they were kids as well, but it still hurts to this date. My mother married my stepdad when I was 10, and he and his kids, my step-siblings, have made it very clear they did not like me, and things got even worse. I was given the smallest room, no new clothes or anything, and constantly ignored if not being bullied by my family. Both my step-family and half-siblings went on great and fantastic trips, and were given all the latest gadgets and everything as well while I was left behind. It actually came to the point where no one had wished me a happy birthday since I was 8. I had no friends at school as well. I was that quiet kid who was always isolated and left out of everything. Well, I'm 27 and male, and I managed to get a full ride to my dream college, and am now financially quite secure. I now have a very good friend and an amazing fiance with whom I have a 3-year-old son, and her family has adopted me as one of their own. My fiance also convinced me to go to therapy, for which I'm very grateful, as well because I'm basically doing great in life and have moved past everything. Recently, my mother contacted me a few days ago saying she needed my help. Money, of course, because now she has cancer, and I firmly but politely refused her, saying that while I do sympathize with her situation, it's not my responsibility and she should lose my number, never contact me again. I'm now hounded by my stepfamily and even my half-siblings that I should not refuse, and my response was pretty much the same, and then I blocked them all. Yesterday, my mother called me from her friend's phone, this time ordering to pay since she has sacrificed so much for me. To which I replied, you never sacrificed anything. You gave away everything you had because you just could not keep your legs closed. Then I hung the phone up on her. I've blocked them all and now just keep receiving messages calling me an a-hole, among other things, from new phone numbers which I promptly block. But now occasionally I do feel quite guilty. What my mother did was horrible, yes, but no one deserves to die for such things. So guys, am I the a-hole for refusing to pay my mother's hospital bill even though it may lead to her death?